Hello, so in this video, we're going to see how to work with radio buttons, and we're going to explore the different ways of selecting a radio button and checking that that selection is valid. So let's get started. I have already created a new class, radio button tests, and already made the navigation part. So as I said, what we're going to do today is we're going to click or select the radio buttons. And how do we do that? Well, first we need to find the button, then we need to select it, and then we're going to assert that the button is selected. Okay, let's get started. So regarding finding the button, if we inspect the page, we see here that we have 3 radio buttons. And if we want, for example, to select the first one easy option to do is select this one by ID. Okay, so let's do that. So we make web element first button, driver find element by ID. Perfect. And then let's see if we can select that button. So click, and then we can assert it. Let me just copy the assertion part from the other test so that we have it already. And write assert true that the first button is selected. Okay, nice. Maybe now I can actually do the copying. And I make here assert true. Okay, let's run the test. And our test has passed. But let's just do some changes here. So this is the, actually we select the first button and assert that the first button is selected. Okay. But this is really static. I mean, it's always going to select the first button. So, okay, then let's see what we can do to select the second button. So this one has a value of option 2. Could do some XPath here. So we have an input, and in the input we have a value that is equal to option 2. And for the third one, option 3. Okay, let's just add those here as second button. By XPath, option 2, and option 3. I have here second button. Sorry, third button. And let me just copy these sections as well, and we're going to select the second button and the third button. And for that, we just need to do some changes here. So second, and third. And for debugging purposes, let me just add here print statement. Now I'm going to stop and let's just debug the tests. Okay, so now if we check the tests, they should actually be like right here. So this one was selected, this one was selected. Now we have button number 3. Perfect. Let's stop the debugging. However, there is one issue that may arise here. So we have one selector for each radio button. It's not bad, but imagine you had here like 10 or 15 buttons. Creating a selector for each of them, while it's not incorrect, it is time consuming and it may require some, well, extra work in case some of the values change there. Let's do another way of achieving the same result in the end. And let's try to select a radio button based on its index. But first, we need to find a way to select all the buttons, or a way that identifies all the buttons. I think if we go with the form check input class, we do have now a way of selecting all the buttons. And in IntelliJ, let us create a new method called select by index. And we're going to give him here index. And in this method, so let's do web element item list driver find elements, not find element, by CSS selector. And we need to put here the selector to make it correct. And we need to make this one a list. Perfect. And here we can actually perform. So we need to get the item based on index, and then we can perform the click. However, to be certain that we can perform the click, let's add one extra item here. We can add an if. So if item, so if the item that we get is already selected, or sorry, is not already selected, then we will perform the click operation. Good. Let's just add here select item by index. So we know what we're doing there. And let us here for the second button. So let's just select by index. And since it is the second button, we need to enter here 1 because we have 3 items and array start counting at 0. Okay, so let's debug this again and see what happens. Should see the same result. So item 1, then 2, then 3 are selected. And it seems that passed. This is perfect. However, we still have one more possibility to make all of this way more flexible. And that is, in case we have, I'm really making it right now, I know, complicated. In case we have like 50 radio buttons. And then it's hard to say, okay, I actually want to select the one that's at position 45. But in case somebody changes the values, then that would mean our position 45, if we do it by index, will not match what we actually want to select. And a way to do this, or to solve this issue, would be to select the value, or select the radio button based on the value. So let's do this. But first, let's analyze this a bit. So as we can see, even though our input here has a value parameter, but that's not the value that we want. Here it says option 1, here option 2, here option 3. Yeah, but even if it says in our example, if it says option 4 or 5 until option 50, that still doesn't really apply to what I'm searching. I want to search by the text that the end user sees. So by this radio button 3. And here, if I want to get all these labels, I can do it in a similar fashion to what we did for the input, and do a selection by the class. We have all of the inputs there. One important point though, if we would do this check, and let's say we click then on this element, that does nothing for the radio buttons. So I'm clicking here right now and it doesn't select our radio buttons. So the solution that we need in our case right now is to basically check in these elements for the text, and when we found the text, we're going to click the input. Okay, so let's start actually doing this. And I'm going to do another function here, select by text. Okay, and we're going to do two things there. So the first thing is we're going to take this list of elements because we said we need it, and we're going to create another list for the labels. So labels list, and we just need to make sure we have this one selected. Perfect. Okay, and what I would recommend in this case is for us to do a for loop. However, even the for loop will only partially solve our problem. And let me just copy some code here and we'll go one by one or step by step and see how a little improved for loop would solve our issue. So here's the code. It's not really complicated. It's just a for each loop. So let's go step by step. What this code does is it's checking for all of the web elements, and we can give here any value that we want here. So value test, but then we just need to specify it also in the code. So the value that we want, this represents the element in this list here. So what I said is we're checking the labels, and in case the label text equals the text, this text here, for debugging purposes, we're going to say where we found it, and in case it is not selected, we're going to select the item. The good thing is the inputs and the labels are always the same as from a number perspective, and if the item is found at the second position, then it just needs to click the input at the second position. As you might have noticed, I have here an extra variable to help me, an I, an integer which I initialize with 0, and after each iteration, I just increment it. And also we have here a break, so when this is found, we just stop the execution. And let's see how this works. So in case of the third button here, we're just going to search for radio button 3. And let us run the test. Perfect, the test has passed. And as you can see, it also said here found at position number 2. Position number 2 because, as we already know, arrays start counting at 0. So 0, 1, 2. So number 2, let me just add here a space so that it looks more pretty. So the number 2 position in the array, or the index, the position with the index of 2 matches the third option. So I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one with other nice Selenium recipes.